they are prepared to remove the president by any means or ruse or rationale possible, including the 25th Amendment, including impeachment, including the worst thinkable thing. Let's remember that Presidents Ford and Reagan were both assaulted by gunmen. And of course, President John F. Kennedy was killed. And the deep state has been known, as I've written in several books, to be involved in these kind of desperate measures. We've already had 3 coups in America: a violent one with John F. Kennedy, a legal one with Richard Nixon, whose great sin was ending the war in Vietnam, opening the door to China.
So you're saying you smell an attempted coup, be it 25th Amendment or be it by bullets. Which one do you think's the next phase?
It would be irresponsible to talk at length just to try to cast hyperbole, but I think it's fair to say that they've played out their Russia hand.
It's the 4th hour. Roger Stone is sliding into the cockpit here to take you through the rest of the hour. And as soon as he's ready, I'll punch out of my ejection seat and get on the next level. But here it is. Manafort sues Mueller in Russia probe. Yeah, they've got the Democrats, Obama's law firm, just suing Roger Stone and others, the president, for no reason. Well, Manafort, the former Trump campaign chairman, indicted on money laundering and other charges, filed a lawsuit challenging the broad authority of Special Counsel Robert Mueller and alleging the Justice Department violated the law in appointing Mueller. Well, even CNN admits that he took stuff that wasn't in warrants, lied, did stuff never before seen. The suit brought Wednesday by U.S. District Court in Washington, where Manafort, another former Trump campaign aide, are charged, challenges Mueller's decision to charge Manafort with alleged crimes they say have nothing to do with the 2016 campaign, but rather relate to lucrative lobbying work Manafort and his deputy did for a Russian-friendly government in Ukraine. That work ended in 2014 and dates back more than 10 years. The suit says Manafort and his deputy, Rick Gates, deny the allegations and the charges. Well, I could be a fake news reader, couldn't I, if I would actually apply myself? The legal action represents a new tack in a broad effort of supporters of the president to push back on the special counsel. Some Republicans have begun to publicly calling for Mueller's probe to be shut down. Manafort attorneys echoed the president's criticism that Mueller's investigation into Russia meddling in 2016 election is pursuing crimes that never happened, and are crimes of process, I would add. The Manafort lawsuit alleges Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and Mueller have unlawfully exceeded the authority allowed under the law governing special counsel appointments. The lawsuit contends that the order Rosenstein signed to appoint Mueller exceeds the scope of Mr. Rosenstein's authority to appoint special counsel, as well as special restrictions on the scope of such appointments. The focus is on a part of Rosenstein's order that says Mueller may investigate, quote, any matters that arose or may arise directly from the investigation. It doesn't get broader than that, ladies and gentlemen. The Manafort lawyers say this goes beyond what the law allows Rosenstein to empower Mueller to do. As I've said, is Mueller a king? Is he a god, separate from the 3 branches of government? A magical palantir, able to look into all private doings and indict whoever he wishes with a jury that witnesses are now reporting looks like a Bernie Sanders met a Black Lives Matter event. 20 jurors, 9 white, 11 black, all ultra-liberal. The Rosenstein order gives Mueller carte blanche to investigate and pursue criminal charges in connection with anything he stumbles across while investigating, no matter how remote from the specific matter identified as the subject of the appointment order, the lawsuit says. Manafort and Gates face a total of 12 criminal charges related to money laundering and failure to file federal disclosures. Both Manafort and Gates have pled not guilty and are scheduled to appear again before the judge in the criminal case January 16th. Joining us now from the Infowars.com news studios in sunny Florida is Roger Stone. Roger, how the worm turns now that America finally found teeth and isn't intimidated by the rogue elements of the central government, the deep state, and the whoremongering, imploding cesspit that is the mainstream used enema?
Well, Alex, look, I think the forces of atheistic, godless globalism are in retreat. And it shows how completely instant and potentially extraordinary our political environment is. In politics, a day is a lifetime. Just the revelations of the last 3 months about Mueller, the FBI corruption.
You could write about it for 1,000 years.
It's really extraordinary. And juxtapose that with a surging stock market, record unemployment, even with the phonied up statistics.
With these enemies trying to block the giant, big, juicy, delicious, as Robert Duvall says in Network, it's a big you-know-what hit. I mean, it's a big, juicy, black gold, giant success. Get out the way. Get out the way. Sorry.
So the establishment, as we know, in the last year, whipped up a phony hysteria about Russian collusion. It was essentially like it was red baiting. It was warmongering. It was fear mongering, but it had no basis in fact or truth. As we know, this was the brilliant idea of John Podesta, aware of the fact that he and his brother and Bill and Hillary and others in the deep state had made multi-millions selling America's interests out to the Russians. They decided to accuse Trump of it. You were among the first in the country to point this out. And it was brilliant. Their handmaidens, their pearl clutchers in the mainstream media seized that fake narrative. Let's remember, John Podesta actually publicly called for the Electoral College before they met to seat the president, essentially, to be briefed on quote unquote Russian collusion. There was none then. It would have been a very short briefing. It was a bluff. And there could be none today. There's no case today. So what you have here is a phony, whipped up hysteria.
Sure, and our audience knows that. I mean, my God, they just say in Congress, I am a Russian agent. It's ridiculous.
Well, but here is the larger point. The entire politics changed when the president issued the executive order, which is a blueprint for the roll-up of the traitors and the crooks and the Wall Street scamsters.
And the potbelly pedophiles.
And the child traffickers and the pedophiles. And the deep staters who have made mega millions. If you want to see the smaller version of this, the test case, I believe it is Saudi Arabia. If the deep state thought
no, exactly, that was the successful beta test. But here's the problem: Keith Olbermann said we're all Russian scum. He said we're at war with Russian scum.
But they've
about
lost.
to be handed over to scum who are beholden to scum, Russian scum.
But again, Roger, these are the globalists that hate America telling us we're Russian scum. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just, how does a man do Twitter when he's most likely in a straitjacket? I mean, Keith Olbermann is the ultimate tinfoil hat, crazy left-wing conspiracist. He never wants to argue about facts. He just likes to call names. That's why I believe he's probably unemployable by any real network. In any event, let's not boost his name ID any further. They lost that fight, Alex. We're on to a whole new thing. You see, they thought that the president may not have been on to them and their entire network. They have done everything humanly possible to cozy up to him, but not embrace his policies, but attempt to dilute his policies.
Sure, get close enough to stab him in the back.
Exactly. The president, who has never governed before and doesn't really, in many cases, know and is not told by his handlers the pedigree of some of the people he's lunching with, that he's meeting with. You will recall, Alex, that was a time, very early on when he had lunch with a well-known attorney who turned out to be the chairman of the Council on Foreign Relations. And I asked him why he did that.
Richard N. Haas.
He says, yeah, I know Dick from like he used to hang around trying to pick up models and stuff. He's the head of what? You see, in other words, they try to burrow their way in. Haas was rumored to be headed to the State Department, and that did not happen.
Hey, you don't have to tell me about infiltration. I've got a small operation, and we've been infiltrated at least 5 times. So I know about it. Believe me, I can't imagine how the president does it. That's why sitting back watching the president, I'm just in awe, even though he's not done some things he said he would. He's just overperforming everything else, and I'm just like, thank Jesus. We'll be back.
Introducing Cellforce by InfoWars Life. Cellforce focuses on mitochondria efficiency and protection. Mitochondria produce over 95% of your energy. They are your body's cellular engines. Cellforce helps promote your cellular energy production by supporting mitochondria, much like a cellular engine overhaul. Because when your mitochondria don't run at 100% efficiency, then they start producing reactive oxygen species. Top scientists agree that aging is most likely caused by cellular damage, resulting from these reactive oxygen species. The antioxidants found in Cellforce are some of the most powerful available on the market. The stronger the antioxidant, the better its ability to scavenge for these reactive oxygen species and other free radicals. Boost, protect, and adapt with Cellforce from InfoWars Life. Head to InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
I see the trolls. They don't just pose as left-wing operatives. They pose as liberty people, and they go on and, oh, Trump's fake. Oh, he's not doing this. Oh, he's blah, blah, blah. It's all horse manure. There's not just evil in the world. This is the real restoration of the republic. Why would powerful interests just want to gut the country and bankrupt everything and make people poor to control them? That's sick, leftist, communist, globalist, Soros crap. Doesn't mean the elites that are fighting with the people to bring back prosperity are perfect. It just means they're not totally out to get you. And it's like Trump put out in this statement about banning. He goes, we don't want to burn the country down. We want to just bring back prosperity. And I've never been anti-government. I'm anti-constitutional government. And I'm seeing the direction we're going as being really good. But since I mentioned Oberman, here he is in the original video. He's now lost the funding because people weren't watching it. This was his first video, though. It got 1.64 million views, so 1,600,000 views. He says, we are at war with Russia. They are finalizing their coup. POTUS must declassify all permanent information now. Well, they released it all. It was all horse crap. It was Hillary in bed with the Russians. And the Russians were like a guy that bought America once a month. I mean, the Chinese are like, you know, going to the pimp, the Democrats, and like having rape sex with us every 5 minutes. I mean, the EU, the globalists, the big banks, Bezos was raping us every few hours. The taxpayers. I mean, the Russians are the scapegoat because they're the only group out there that's thrown the globalist out. But now it's spreading, see? So when they say it's Russia's fault, I mean, we got to give Russia some credit in a minute with Roger Stone, who's going to then take over. But here is the beginning of the famous Russian scum video.
We are at war with Russia. Or perhaps more correctly, we have lost a war with Russia.
No, you're at war with
battle.
me, baby.
We are no longer a sovereign nation. We are no longer a democracy. We are no longer a free people. We are the victims of a bloodless coup. So far, a bloodless coup.
See that flag? That's your war with.
By Russia with, at best, the traitorous indifference of the Republican Party and Donald John Trump, a man who, to borrow a phrase from another December long ago, will live in infamy. In 5 weeks' time, unless desperate measures are taken, we will hand over the government to a man who lost the popular vote by more than Woodrow Wilson or Jimmy Carter.
Because he stole 6 states.
A man whom the Russians wanted to run our country for them, a man whom the Russians got to run our country for them, a man for whom the Russians interfered with our elections, which if we did it to another country would be described as an act of war. And in this country, we have conceded defeat. Some experts, John Kasich's strategist, John Weaver for one, have compared this to Pearl Harbor. Even the hard-right ex-Congressman Joe Walsh says Republican silence will be tantamount to treason. Some others, too, have proved courageous. Trump, self-destructive to the last, issued a childish statement mocking the CIA.
All right, that's enough of this. Roger, I'm going to turn the broadcast over to you. This is the crap, because Keith Olbermann says it a year ago. They then just say in Congress, well, Jones is run by the Russians and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, the economy's surging back. The military is expanding. Trump's sending heavy weapons to fight the Russians. I mean, I think he's been manipulated, or they're not following his orders, into a war with Russia. I actually don't. I want to be friends with Russia. But, I mean, Trump's in a more aggressive stance right now to Russia than even Obama was. It's just all literal horsemanner. Roger?
I'm sorry, Alex. We had a little audio problem there again. I think we have now corrected it. So,
I'm just saying, you just heard, I mean, could you hear Overman? Yeah, your audio's up too high.
This guy is the epitome of the loony left. Here's the point. The Trump administration is now giving lethal weapons to the Ukrainians with which they will kill Russians. So the idea that the Trump foreign policy would be to roll over for Vladimir Putin is already proved to be false. All of the Russia policies by the Trump administration have angered Putin. So the charge that the Russians owned him have been disproved in the arena of our U.S. foreign policy.
No, I agree, but I don't want the left bullying us into war with Russia when Russia is not expanding. It was Soros overthrowing Ukraine 4 years ago that started all this.
Agreed, but I also have no interest in fighting the last war. What I'm telling you is something different, which is stage one, Russian collusion. This is over. They have failed to prove their case. They are prepared to remove the president by any means or ruse or rationale possible, including the 25th Amendment, including impeachment, including the worst thinkable thing. Let's remember that Presidents Ford and Reagan were both assaulted by gunmen. And, of course, President John F. Kennedy was killed. And the deep state has been known, as I've written in several books, to be involved in these kind of desperate measures. We've already had 3 coups in America, a violent one with John F. Kennedy, a legal one with Richard Nixon, whose great sin was ending the war in Vietnam, opening the door to China.
So you're saying you smell an attempted coup, be it 25th Amendment or be it by bullets. Which one do you think's the next phase?
It would be irresponsible to talk at length just to try to cast hyperbole, but I think it's fair to say that they've played out their Russia hand. What you see when the nation and intellectual liberals, honest, perhaps from our point of view, misguided liberals who are not corrupt people, just misguided, realize that the Russia Gate thing is an attempt to stifle anybody with an alternative opinion. I mean, I don't get to go to Fox or CNN very often because I will argue with their BS Russian collusion nonsense, and that's the last thing they want. But it's a battle they have lost. The establishment was hoping that Donald Trump would continue to sit back and passively wait for them to try their next ruse to take him out. 25th Amendment, impeachment, some illicit process charged by the two-party neocon hitman, Robert Mueller. Mueller, of course, gave the first legal job he ever had to Rod Rosenstein, the current de facto attorney general, and the two of them have a lethal path mapped out for this president. But the president, when he issued the executive order, they understood the jig was up, meaning they understand Trump not only understands who they are, what they do, and he's ready to go to war with them. It is a dagger to the throat. They thought he was going to just sit there and wait for their next attempt to take him out. They tried in the recount. It didn't work. They tried in the Electoral College. It didn't work. They whipped up the Trump is crazy line. We reported it and predicted it first here at Info.
And despite all that, the real polls show them with about a 60% approval rating because they oversampled Democrats 15 points. Gallup and others have got them at like 45. So does Rasmussen. So Trump is winning. When Roger takes over on the other side, he's going to break down what the next attack will be. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as we've said over and over again, if the New World Order and the globalists want to kill prosperity, want to have us all for their slaves, they're going to have to go through us first. And if they want to fight, they better believe they've got one. Spread this live link right now. Be part of the revolution.